Hello everyone, this is Rebecca Bradford and I would like to discuss the social justice issue at my field placement. My field placement is at Big Bear Elementary School with the Healthy Start Student Support Program, where we work with needy children and families to provide services at school and in the community to better serve all the families, which is kindergarten through 6th grade. And the social justice issue that I have observed throughout my placement is an inequality to Spanish-speaking families, lack of services, and unfair treatment overall. I live in Big Bear, which is where my placement is, and it's a fairly white community with limited resources in general to Spanish-speaking families, but the elementary school where my placement is has the largest amount of Spanish-speaking students. There is not a single Spanish-speaking teacher, and we have 2 Spanish-speaking aides to 500 children. So this has been something that I have noticed throughout my placement, and I will be happy to talk more about that issue throughout the coming slides. My awareness of this issue became pretty clear within the first couple weeks of placement, where I started going into classrooms, building relationships with students and teachers, and realizing that we had quite a large population of Spanish-speaking students. This isn't something that I necessarily was aware of before my placement because, like I said, Big Bear is a small community and majority of residents are white. So I noticed that for all of the information going out for families, the beginning of the year packet or other information about events coming up were only going out in English, and I was noticing that a lot of the Spanish-speaking students weren't bringing them back because the families were unable to sign them. So the families weren't necessarily immersed in the culture as I think maybe they should be or would like to be at the culture of the school, because they weren't getting the information that they needed. So that became clear to me pretty much right away. Another really important trigger that made me really think about this issue a little bit more is that 17 out of the 25 kindergartners are Spanish speaking, and that means that the bilingual, that they're not really bilingual at all because they're just learning. This is their first year of school. So at home, the primary and only language being spoken is Spanish, and they're coming to school with an English-speaking teacher with no Spanish intervention there, except for our 2 Spanish-speaking aides, but they're for the entire school, so that resource is very limited to them as well. And I also was noticing that, myself included, as someone who works in the support program, I don't speak Spanish myself because we're an English-speaking school. However, we are our culture, the culture of our school, the culture of our town is changing, and we're not necessarily able to adapt to that just yet. So as I was looking at the services that I could help provide, I myself don't speak Spanish. I can only help a little bit, so I found myself wondering what other resources were out there to provide. And another realization for me that this was an issue, not just something that we were working to improve, was unfortunately some insensitive approaches by other school staff to the Spanish-speaking population. I've heard new duty aides talk about how frustrated that they are that they can't speak to the children because they don't understand, and how some of the other staff are just generally feeling overworked because they can't get a message across, which I understand the frustration of a language barrier, but we have to also understand that that frustration is also coming from the student. Some of the students that I worked with are Spanish speaking, and we have a huge language barrier, so I would take the time to get a Spanish speaking aide with me to translate what it is that I was trying to say and get my message across. But time is limited and resources are limited, so the frustration not only is coming from the staff but from the students as well. So there's a huge need for help if we're allowing the students in the school to be part of the school. then we need to make sure that we're serving them appropriately. So as soon as I realized that this social issue, the social justice issue, was something that I wanted to pursue, that I wanted to do something about, I started to really look at the resources available, what I could do to be a little bit more helpful, and how I could learn more about the issue. So actually my field supervisor, Annemiek Stalcup, she runs what's called FBET, Family-Based English Tutoring. And this actually happens at my school of placement, but it happens after hours. She actually opens this up so families can come bring their children, and someone's actually there to watch the kids so that families can learn how to use technology and how to learn some English speaking skills. So families will come and learn how to access the computers so that they can see their children's grades. They can learn a little bit of English and just become a little bit more aware of what's going on at their school. Annemiek has been doing this for about 5 years. She's been doing it for free. She has gone to the board several times requesting assistance for supplies, maybe a little bit of money to hire a part-time person, just 2 hours a night for minimum wage, just for an incentive for extra help, and maybe, like I said, any supplies that the families might need just to help them learn. And unfortunately, the school district has not given her any money despite a huge need. So as I was assessing this issue, I was talking to her about some of the things that she has discovered throughout her time doing FBET. And some of the statistics she gave me were the total contacts for last year was about 671 people. And then within that time, there had been a 16% increase in attendance since the last school year. And 25 of 30 students who attended FBET in both semesters showed a significant increase in their school test results from last year and the year before that, which is an 85% success rate of the target study group of students. So that right there shows that this is working, that it's important, and that it's necessary. But unfortunately, some of the school district leaders aren't on the same page and aren't following her or helping her make this a more powerful program, because it is free to the families, but we're not getting enough supplies and money that we need to keep this running so that it's even bigger. And so that has been a difficult part of this whole issue, is that not everyone in the school is on board with it. They're not seeing it as a top priority. So when you're trying to make way in a school district, it becomes obvious right away that priorities don't just run on what I see or a couple of people see. It really has to come from the top on down, is what it feels like as I have been going through this project. Also, while assessing this issue, I have been in on a couple of staff meetings, and this was intimidating for me, but I have requested that the classrooms start to provide Spanish translated forms for parents to sign. Everything that goes home from Healthy Start has an English and Spanish side, so that parents know where we're coming from and what we're expecting. Anytime I have a Spanish-speaking student, I ask one of the aides to call that family to let them know about the program. This is no exception, and unfortunately something that I have learned is that the Spanish-speaking families, since there are only 2 aides, teachers aren't calling the Spanish-speaking homes to give updates because they simply can't communicate. And I don't want to say that the teachers are horrible or guilty or that they're doing something inherently wrong. It's more that our resources are limited, so that these students are still continuously underserved. So the teachers took that okay, that they understood that they needed to send quite a few of the documents home. Some of them have that mentality of, this is an English-speaking school, let's get it together. However, at every single SST meeting, so that's a staff meeting where there are, well, not staff meeting, a teacher, the principal, sometimes myself if it was a Healthy Start student, If it's a Spanish-speaking family, we will have a Spanish-speaking aide there so that there's not terrible confusion. So that's one thing that I've appreciated. But as far as the documentation is concerned, some of the teachers have been on board with that. Fortunately, the Spanish-speaking aides are amazing and work very hard to make sure that they are helping the population thrive entirely. So that's a really great asset to have. I have worked closely with the Spanish-speaking aides to make sure that there has been communication between myself, the student, and the family. So this can mean I'm in an assessment with a child that doesn't speak English and I have the aide right there and they're translating everything I say. Now, yes, this does make sessions more difficult because it is still sort of lost in translation and I can't quite read how things are going. And I don't know if the student can either, but I can say that it makes a huge difference. I have had a student that I did an assessment in English with who barely understood me, and it was just her and I. She left thinking, she was confused. I knew that she was. And then I brought her back in with the Spanish-speaking aide, did the same exact thing, and I left getting hugs and high fives from the student. So it goes, obviously language is important, and it's important that we serve the children the way that they need to be. Other important approaches to this issue is speaking to the Spanish-speaking population. We need to ask them what they want, what they need more of, and a lot of them really support FBET and want to be there. It's free, like I said, there's childcare, so there aren't a lot of reasons why they can't come except for their own personal jobs. But that is something that they want to see thrive more. They were happy to hear that there was the suggestion of resources going home to families, and the way that I got to speak about this was just asking the families that I had what we could do more of to make their time having a student at Big Bear Elementary School a little bit easier. So that has been really helpful as well. So after getting a general idea of how staff feel about reaching out to the Spanish-speaking community a little bit more, as well as talking to our Spanish-speaking aides and the Spanish-speaking community, getting a general idea of where we are, I came to understand that we still need more resources, because the teachers will hear me, but I can only make so much of an uproar about this. I can do my part in Healthy Start to work hard to make sure that the students that I was seeing are being served. Tanya Perry, she leads the entire Healthy Start program, and this is something that she has been working on for a while, so her perspective was important, that she understands that it's difficult, but she also knows it's important. That's why everything that she does for Healthy Start is bilingual. Unfortunately, it's just been very difficult to hire any other help that are Spanish-speaking support systems. So Healthy Start is part of a mental health alliance, which we are partnered with Lutheran Social Services, and they had a Spanish-speaking social worker for a while, which was very helpful because that Spanish-speaking social worker could come to the schools and do translation and help serve families and help hook them into the services, whether that was therapy or domestic violence outreach, whatever it was that they needed. She would take on that role that Healthy Start normally does to get families into services. She was able to help that communication with the families that needed it. But now she's gone, so that left me wondering, well, what do we do for families? How do we hook them into services? If we can't just rely on the aides at school because they have another job. They're not part of Healthy Start. They're very important to the school, but they're busy. They have a lot of kids that they need to see. So I started to ask a little bit about what our services do. So Desert Mountain Children's Center is a therapy center that works with our children, and all of the clinicians are also only English speaking. So I asked, what happens when I have a student that needs mental health services beyond what Healthy Start can do? How are they going to get served properly? And they had an answer that I appreciated. They bring someone with them wherever they go. If it's a Spanish-speaking family, at all times they have full-time Spanish-speaking translators to help with therapy. Now, I don't necessarily think this is ideal. I think that, like I said, even in my assessments, that communication, something coming from me, then coming from the bilingual aide, then to the student, then through her and back to me, things get lost. However, it's a start. It's better than nothing. It's services that are being offered. And I can't say that we all need to learn Spanish. I mean, of course it would be helpful, but I do understand that expectations in reality are different. I'm not blaming teachers for not speaking Spanish. I don't speak Spanish either. However, like I have said, if our students are showing a need and we're there to help them thrive, then we need to do what we can to help meet that need. And another really important resource is another part of the Mental Health Alliance, which is called the Mom and Dad Project. They have someone there that speaks Spanish that helps families with all their medical needs, so whether that's getting resources for eyeglasses or for Medi-Cal, there is a direct line that I can refer families to speak to her if they need that assistance. So I feel in the end a little bit more confident knowing that although resources are limited, the students can get mental health services that are Spanish speaking if they need it. They can get help with Medi-Cal if they need it, and I can do my part to help them on campus with my services as well, because I work hard to make sure that they're understanding everything that I'm communicating with families, and I've let teachers know that I can help them meet that need as well with the resources that we have through Healthy Start and the Mental Health Alliance. So that is a powerful way to reach the students. One last resource that I have sort of just put to place myself in an attempt to not spread our aids so thin and to help empower the students. I have a couple of Spanish-speaking older children in Healthy Start that I thought, but they're bilingual, so they speak fluent both languages. I thought that they could benefit by feeling useful because they're awesome kids, that they could be in a position of power a little bit to help my younger kids who are not bilingual in Healthy Start. So I could start a group with my bilingual older students to come in and help the Spanish-speaking younger students understand the skills that I'm trying to teach. And so far, the older kids have taken a liking to this. It's given the younger kids sort of a big brother, big sister feel on campus, because actually the culture of our Spanish-speaking kids on campus is very close anyway, and this has helped that a little bit to cause some empowerment and with older kids, as well as some comfort for the younger kids. So this is something that I kind of thought of when I was feeling frustrated about how I can help, and this is obviously something that I talked to the parents of both older and younger kids first, if they're okay with that, if they feel comfortable with that. And the communication and the needs, that's coming from my end. I'm saying, okay, let's work on this, and then the older kids will translate that to the younger ones, and I watch it work. That has been really fun, and I've talked to the other Healthy Start staff at the other schools about this, and they seem a little bit interested in it too, although the elementary school of my placement has the biggest need for this. So anyway, that's been fun. We'll see if it carries through or if it keeps going, but for now it seems to be another helpful outlet for the kids. So to summarize my recommendations for change, that would be that all of the programs for school packets, for field trips, for information about upcoming events, for homework, they should all be sent out in Spanish to the families that need them. No exceptions, because this will help families understand what's going on at their students' school, and we need that. I think hiring at least one more aide to work closely in the high Spanish-speaking classrooms, such as the kindergarten, is crucial. Our kindergarten teacher is drowning in behavioral issues because this language barrier is severe right now. So she needs someone in her classroom at all times to help serve the children. Another important part of this, making this work through the school, is educating the staff on cultural diversity, because there are teachers there that have been there longer than I've been alive, and they are very much staying with the way that they have taught for 25 plus years. So there isn't much of a change in how they approach the children, and times have changed. So I think a general education for these staff on cultural diversity, maybe a 2-day training somewhere, could really impact them positively. I know that the training I received throughout placement was huge. It was a conference, and you learn all kinds of things every year that you progress in your education, because life is progressing, and that's what we do. We change. So I think that if the principal could make it paid or make it mandatory, I don't know, but I know that a lot of teachers need to learn about some sensitivity training, so that would be really, really cool to see. And I would also like for the FBET leader, Annemiek Stalcup, to get some funds for what she does, because those numbers and those statistics speak for themselves. It's a program that works, that deserves attention. So I plan to be a part of those FBET groups to help do what I can, whether that's just hanging out with the kids while the parents are learning. But I also kind of want to help write letters so that she gets the funding that she needs. And that happens every half year, where she tries to get some of that money. And I would like the school board to really at least recognize the impact that FBET has, that cultural diversity and sensitivity training will have on the district, because this is where we are right now, and this is where the direction of our population is headed, and that's something that, if we are going to let students in our school, we need to make sure that they're learning. So I would really like to see the school district get on board a little bit more. So I've provided my recommendations for change, and I've also touched on some of those strategies, which is really just speaking out, which is being a part of this social justice issue that's going on. I've already done some strategies by talking to the teachers about the need, and this is not easy, because the teachers are like I have said, they are in their own ways. So my perspective doesn't always come off that easy, especially as an intern, but that doesn't mean I can just go away. There are plenty of other people in the school district that support this need, so I would like to collaborate with them and keep those lines of communication open, so that small changes are being made every single year. I do have an interest in working in the school district, so if I can get some outreach done now, I think that will help me if I'm ever able to have the opportunity to be a full-time employee. So a lot of collaborating with Annemiek, with the principal, with school district, with the board. There's always board meetings, and I plan to be a part of those, because it's important. Sometimes the only time you can approach change is through education. If we don't know about an issue, then how can we change it? So making that awareness very clear is important. I have, like I said, other people, from Tanya to Annemiek to our Spanish-speaking aides, who know that there's a need, especially coming from our other mental health resources. They know that there's a need. So getting all of us together to collaborate is important in this, and just doing my part, small steps, to make sure that I'm serving students, so that they know that we're here for them, to say plainly, I know you're frustrated that there's a language barrier, but we're here to help bridge those gaps, and to make sure that you're learning because we care about you. Saying things like that, and making sure that we're doing our best, those strategies are important. But like I said, the biggest thing is education. So in the meantime, celebrating the diversity that happens in my Healthy Start classroom. The staff of Healthy Start do that all the time, and that's something I will continue to do as well. So I look forward to seeing how this progresses. Even after placement FBET, the program FBET still goes on, and that's something I'm going to be a part of. I'm still connected to Healthy Start because of my high school employment, so I'm not really going anywhere, and I can still be a part of this and see how the elementary school gets served a little bit more appropriately because it's important to me. So here's where we are with this issue, my strategies for change and my recommendations for change, and of course I'm very passionate about this, so with all of that together, I will be curious to see how this goes through this point forward, and will certainly be immersing myself in this. So I hope that you have all learned a little bit more about the issue of underserved Spanish-speaking clients at Big Bear Elementary School, and also about how I can sort of make a bit of a difference in this issue in my community. Thank you.